British cars are not the only thing I like. I do have a soft spot for old Mercedes and Saab and some of the Italian things as well. I'm driving at the moment a Mercedes 190e 2-litre automatic. It's a very pleasant car. It's one of those cars shrouded with credibility and has been for a very long time. Cars like this don't drive like modern cars at all. They've got their own characteristic, just like Rover do, and that's why I like them, because they've got really nice steering. This has a rather unusual feel to the steering actually, because it has a box instead of a rack. The 190e was a very, very popular sight in the 80s and 90s because the car just run for ages and ages. They didn't know when to stop making it. I think it was 1984 when the first one came out on an A reg, and it went all the way up to a K, which is what this one is. So this is about as new as you can get for one of these. It's just a saloon car. That's all there is to it. The smallest German saloon car you could buy with a Mercedes badge on it anyway. 1984, Germans didn't really do hatchbacks except for Volkswagen. That's probably why that one sold so well. If you wanted a Mercedes hatchback, you had to buy an estate car. This particular car is synonymous with minicabs of the very early 90s before they started driving Japanese cars. Now that's always a good sign. Not that your car looks like a minicab, but if the minicabbers are using them, it means that they're going to be reliable. One of the things I like about driving an old Mercedes is the old badge on the front. 3-pointed star, always visible, especially if you're not looking ahead. In fact, if you focus too much on that badge there, you're more likely to run into the back of someone. This car has very quiet indicators, which means you can forget you've got them on. This isn't what you'd call a performance car at all, but I am feeling a little bit frustrated by the exceedingly slow progress of the cars in front of me. If I was in a quick sporty car, I'd probably be feeling rather frustrated right now, but I'm not. Once you go beyond sort of 40 miles per hour, the steering seems to become a lot more responsive. It's like it wants to go faster. Below that kind of speed, it's kind of just they want to bother. It's like, oh, do I really have to? Do we really have to go around this bend? I'm not sure. Can we be bothered? Can we do it another time? And that's how I always remember Mercedes steering to be. Right up until the point where they decided that they should steer just like the rest of the cars. It doesn't feel as small as I was expecting. I don't mean it's difficult to place on the road, because it isn't, but I mean it feels bigger inside than what I thought it was going to feel. The quality of the materials are all very, very nice, very good sturdy things, great big soft rubbery plastic steering wheel, and this huge horn thing in the middle there. Lovely, lovely big dashboard full of very, very easy to read instructions on how fast you're going, and then the dials are all nicely placed in this lovely shiny wood here, and then the dashboard all really, really nice and just solid feeling. It's classic seats, these checkered seats there. It's all very much playing golf in the 70s. This really was Mercedes' idea of just a cheap car. A cheap car that happens to be incredibly well made. Listen, there's no knocks or rattles or anything like that anywhere at all. It's just all properly put together. You'd think it'd be slow, but it's not bad actually. It's not rapid, but it picks up okay. As far as a proper Mercedes saloon car is concerned, automatic. You've got to have an automatic. You haven't got to, but if you don't, why would you want a manual gearbox in a Mercedes? That's what I want to know. Who's answering that one? Not me. And it is just a proper automatic gearbox. None of this fancy double clutch malarkey thing like you get in new ones. And there's two reasons for that. One is this is more reliable, and the other is that it hadn't been invented at the time, so they couldn't put it in anyway. Personally, I don't think these are the nicest of seats for any kind of long distance. They're a bit flat feeling. They're not really very supportive. They're a bit like sitting on a deck chair. Now this is the longest test drive I've ever done in a car, because quite simply it's not a car that's been brought to me and I've taken it for a mile or two around where I work, but I have picked it up from Hebden Bridge and driven it back to Rochdale, which gives me many more miles to actually discover how the thing really is. But all the way it's just been really busy, and that's spoilt it. Along this stretch of road here, for example, you're allowed to do 50 miles per hour along here, and I'm still only doing 35. It's such a disappointment. Can't blame the car for that. Have you ever wondered why the Mercedes 190e is so expensive, and why so many people bought them in the first place, when it's just this saloon car that, if I was to describe the Mercedes 190e to somebody who's never seen one before, they probably wouldn't be very interested in actually seeing it, because it's just a small, boxy saloon car with no major features going on. Cloth seats, wheel trims. Should I go on? It's definitely related to its older brothers, older and bigger brothers. You can see that everywhere. It has nothing amazingly outlandish going on. It's all kind of a bit boxy and a bit square. And these kind of angles here, this always reminded me of chocolates for some reason. The rear lamps with ridges look very dated. The car itself is very narrow. The mirrors always look like monkey's ears, and of course we've got the Mercedes emblem on the front, which is so tempting for small people to try and steal. I don't mean small people, I mean thieving people. Front we've got a 2-litre engine. It's got a boot with a hazard sign in there, and the boot isn't particularly big considering the size of the car, because the fuel tank is in the middle. Wheel trims on a Mercedes like this are actually more desirable than alloy wheels, and I bet it would cost you more to replace these wheel trims than it would be to buy some alloys. Why not? What's so good about alloys anyway? Why is everybody so mad on alloy wheels when steel wheels are stronger? Everything about this car really is, it's just straightforward. It's just bog standard car stuff. There's nothing really fancy or flash going on, except for those lights up there. Look at those. It's telling me that nobody's wearing their seatbelt. Besides these bits of door cards starting to peel off, these are known for everything working and nothing falling apart. Rather typically, this feels exceedingly well made there, and everything else is just really nice and tactile and just as it should be. You can't imagine these vents breaking, or this dash suddenly going all squeaky and horrible. It's even got a proper handbrake. Now that's unusual. Why did they put a proper handbrake in this car when the rest of them, they used a lever on the dashboard and a foot pedal? That is such a nice door pull feel. Door shut sounds. So I think I can have a proper conclusion here. Why the Mercedes 190e is expensive and why it was always popular. And the answer is because it's very good. Is it better than a BMW? Yes. Is it better than a Volkswagen? Yes. Is it better than an Audi? Yes. Is it better than a Rover? Yeah, it is actually. But is it as much fun to drive? Nah. Somebody who I know picked one of these 190Es up as a scrap car. It'd been sat in a garden for years and years, and it was immaculate, and it had something like 30,000 miles on it. Knowing that I like old cars, he messaged me and said, is it worthwhile selling this? Because all my mates reckon I should just scrap it. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to scrap it. And I said, no, just put it up for sale. Somebody will buy it. And they did do. So this car been stood for 8 years or whatever it was. And he put it up, instantly got some like £50, £100 for it. Didn't even buy me a beer.